Yay! Hey, it's Tanja with Adventures for Connection. And Melzie, Norma, and Lisa's back too. How exciting. How are you doing today, Melzie?
I'm doing great.
Where are you?
I'm back at the hot springs. I think I'm a hot spring junkie.
That's good. That's good. That's probably the best place to be at this point in time, honestly.
It is. It's been raining here, so I decided to do it and come and spend, the time at the hot springs. And I spent 2 days instead of just one, so it's a real nice treat. And I thought I was going to get a bunch of work done, but I didn't. I just relaxed.
Good.
Maybe that's what I needed to do.
Good. Norma, how you doing?
Oh, fantastical. How about you, Tanya?
Awesome sauce.
Awesome sauce. Tanya, Melzie K, how are you doing?
I'm doing really, really good.
Good.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Lisa.
Yeah.
Thanks.
How you doing,
Thanks
Lisa?
for having me back.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
Absolutely. So the boogeyman's asking you, Melzie, do you ever do the ice bath? Just curious.
Not really. I look at them and I think, oh man, those people that do that, they're just so brave. I don't know. I like, maybe sometimes I put my foot in it. Not often. I know it's really good for your circulation, but I try. Sometimes I do like a shower. They have the shower.
Debated.
And that's a little easier than the soaking in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I do it in the showers as well. Usually end with a cold one. Awesome. So we thought we'd do a quick recap on what we discussed last week. And that was in regards to the construct. So anybody who missed it, please make sure you ask any questions. And then we want to continue our open conversation because of our limited time. And so we're going to continue on with that. But I just wanted to pop in and let Lisa run through it really quickly. And I actually, my own fault, I need to backtrack it. All right, awesome. So Lisa, take it away, and I'll slide the slides for you as you go.
Okay, this is a visual I was given to sort of demonstrate what the construct actually looked like as a side view. The next slide is, say, the first realm that was created. Where we had an experience, we created a template for that. We had our experience. We went through that experience. We worked out what the next experience was going to be like. We layered that in. Yeah. And every time we do that, and so on and so forth, and every time we do that, everything gets condensed.
And we're going through a condensing at the moment, right? We're being condensed even now.
It's contradictory because we're being condensed and refined and expanded at the same time. So it's a little bit contradictory.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did that 12 times. There are 12 realms inside this construct.
Okay, which is a side view of it here.
Back to a side view.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
start off at that red level, and you just keep playing levels of the game, so to speak, until you get to the final level. When that construct, when that experience was supposed to close out, the whole thing was copied, pasted, and inverted in order to, well, a couple of different things, but you could say that there were beings in the game that didn't want the game to end. And the inversion allowed for all kinds of, what we've experienced. And we were, to my understanding, we were stuck in here. This is a copy.
Yeah. Fuckery comes to mind.
Yeah, a little bit. To add another layer to this, because that inversion got locked from the inside, and we were being sort of rinsed and repeated and recycled in here. That inversion was also copied so that it could then be controlled, cleaned up from the outside as well as the inside. So we've been in that cleanup process at least since 2012.
Awesome.
Well, I feel since 2012. 13.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people were activated at that point, so I would say absolutely makes sense. So, and then you've got
a lot of people were activated in 2009 in preparation for that big year, 2009. Yeah. To me, that top layer of the inversion, because we've been working our way up through the levels of that inversion, right? Awakening, stepping up, leveling up. The final layer was opened up to us in March, and people are slowly leveling up and moving their way in.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. So when you say opening up, can you describe that? What does that mean? Is it like some are aware or some, can you describe that?
Opening up, I meant that level became accessible. The doors, the gateway, whatever you want to call it, to that next level was opened, and we were able to move into it.
Absolutely. And so I totally felt that on the August 9th too. Like that whole time frame was, became very interesting. Shortly after that, Norma and I were both at Mount Shasta. That following weekend, it was pretty mind-bending.
Well, sometime in, because I called one of my weekly updates military in the air.
Yes.
Because you can feel the military in the energetics. And then about 5 days later, I think, they announced that they were doing the August 9 exercise, like the biggest in history, spanning 22 time zones and all of that.
Yep.
And yet, I know that people are reporting military activity all over the world in their local area, stuff that's unusual, whether it's planes or helicopters or vehicles on the ground, ships even. So, but we're not being told anything that's going on.
Of course not.
Have to talk word of mouth and everybody sharing their experiences of what they're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. Even today with Jade, there was 4 military gentlemen walking down the road, and she's like, "Who are those?" I'm like, "They're military, honey." Well, what are they doing? And I'm like, "Probably training somewhere close by." Yeah, but they were just coming from getting lunch. I said, "You'll see a lot more of them soon. Don't worry." Yeah.
Well, what's in the air, so to speak, in the energetic air, this last week in particular, last 10 days, is what I just call the galactics. It's the ETs. And I was just listening to Cliff Hyde this morning, and he just did 2 of his audio rants in the car on that very subject, talking about the galactics and the aliens and ETs and stuff that's going on. people trying to sell artifacts out of Mexico on the dark web, governments getting involved. He's adamant that this is something we are going to have to deal with and have to face. And for a lot of people, it's just not in their wheelhouse. And it hasn't been in mine either necessarily, because when I work with clients, what I pick up on is more their higher self or their home self kind of version. I bypass all this galactic stuff, right? Because the galactics, as far as I'm aware, they're in this construct too. They've been trapped in this place too. And we were the first ones, the supposedly little dear ones down here on the ground who know nothing,
Right.
to figure out where we are and what this reality is. They're just catching up. They're just figuring some of this shit out that we've been talking about for a while now. And that's, I mean, I do feel that too. I've been saying it for ages. We are going to have to experience the whole reality of the galactics. But they're popping up for me and I don't have any frame of reference. So like even yesterday working with a client, I was seeing this being that I had no frame of reference for at all. I had to reach out to a friend of mine who's very well versed in the galactic stuff and go, okay, I saw this. What is it? And she came out with a name that was like, I've never heard of. It was a Mintaka. I'd never heard of it, but apparently there is a little bit of information out there because they're quite rare.
Norma?
So they're popping up all over the shop.
Norma?
Have you heard of them, Norma?
Speak. Don't just sit there and laugh at us.
No, I'm not laughing at you. It's just amazing that you bring up Mintaka because
Are you familiar?
Yes. Yes. I actually have been told that I have someone from Mintaka guiding me.
Wow.
And Mintaka is one of the 3 planets that, the pyramids and everything else is set up by. And so it is amazing. It's amazing that you hear that, because from what I'm getting and what I'm just now receiving is more and more that's coming in. And as I've been sitting outside at night, it's amazing because my vision is not from these eyes. So what I see is it's like I see blue and red and silver like lasers in the sky.
Yep.
And it's like I can see what seems to be flickers of light leaving and transporting between those planets. This has been my experience for about a month now. And I actually haven't really spoke to it.
Well, there you go. Right? Synchronicities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my take on the whole galactic thing is some of it's like our future selves coming in to support us, right? And to help with this shift, and really came back with the time travel thing to assist in shifting something so it didn't go even worse in another timeline, so to speak. So yeah, and we're, everyone's talking about different headaches that they're getting, visions changing. So yeah, they're looking at your list and definitely resonating with it 100%. Not joking, my vision was starting to see the vibes of everything around me today. Awesome.
We
Yeah.
really are all in the process of leveling up.
Yeah.
And it's very, I mean, we're doing it collectively, but it's such a personal process.
Well, it depends on your frequency and what you need.
Yeah.
And what's
And what
going
you're
on
leveling
for
up
you.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I had somebody, Seraphina's a good friend of mine, soul family, that was collapsing some timelines before Egypt for me that I hadn't done yet. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. You can do that. No problem. Well, you might feel it. And I'm like, I don't feel much. So yeah, go ahead. And then I went to my acupressurist yesterday. Just like, what have you done here to your neck? And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh, I know what I did. And so Seraphina kept messaging me and saying, oh yeah, you had your throat slit and you were, this to you, and constantly being murdered because I won't shut up with my voice and my opinion. Go figure. So yeah, it's just different things. And I definitely was feeling, I'm like, oh yeah, that'll pass through as it goes through. So I think the biggest thing for people to realize is take what you need to rest. Get some extra water in you. Yeah, headache, shoulder pain, cough it can't kick, and constant ear ringing. Yeah, that's not uncommon. And so what can you do to just, be kind to yourself? Call in those sick days if you've got them and you're working. And dizziness for 2 weeks. Yeah, absolutely. My vision and headache were wild today, and ear ringing. Yeah, yeah. It's very, very similar. So yes, the veil is thinning, Penny. Absolutely.
Hey,
And
Tanya,
so, yeah, go ahead.
I apologize.
No.
So, to give you a little more information on Mintaka,
Yes,
from what
please.
I was told,
Yeah.
this individual was helping me, training me in understanding how to collapse timelines and how to manipulate them and things like that. So if they are beginning to show up and these symptoms are actually starting to become more prevalent, it's because your guides are starting to show up and meet you where you are and trying to assist you to get to the next level in this game as we as a collective keep traversing these levels. So I just wanted to speak to that while we was still on the
Yeah.
subject of the symptoms.
Yeah, 100%. Go ahead.
To your knowledge, are they connected to the Syrians in some way?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Syrians, Palladians, they're not just connected to one. They from my understanding, they are helping in many leveling galactic areas, not like across the board, but specific ones.
Okay. Because this one threw me for a loop. I didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, comes into your awareness. Reach out anytime too, because Norma's always got answers. And I was gonna say for people as well, what's coming in, so I had to go out to Richmond today, which is a ways away. It's about 45-minute drive. And was collecting some stuff and had Jade with me, and I took her I had to get more crystal points for upcoming trips because I put in grids where I go, and I was told, go get some more. You need those right now. And I'm like, okay. So I went and picked up more. And of course, Jade's with me. And then of course, now she wants to look around and pick out a few things. I'm like, that's fine. Thank goodness it's a warehouse and I get it at cost. But I ended up picking up a copper open on one side copper bracelet to assist with some of this stuff. And so if anybody, you can make your own. Yeah. So you can actually put it on yourself to help out as well. So you can make them, you can buy them, but just make sure they're open-ended, or if you have a closed one, make sure you take it off at night so that your chi and your energy can run cleanly. So I don't like to put too many closed things on me for too long. So I like to make sure my energy is running smoothly. Yeah, absolutely.
It's good if they have magnets as well.
Yes.
Also, just taking your shoes off and going and putting your feet
And
in the dirt
grounding.
will ground you, and then it'll discharge all of that energy that you're experiencing. So, because we're electromagnetic beings, the grounding or water, like salt in the bath, Epsom salt, those are easy ways too to help release, I think.
Absolutely. I had a bath this morning. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm drunk on a bath, actually.
Well, and you're getting all those good minerals in the hot springs too,
I
right?
am.
And because your
Yeah.
skin is the biggest organ, it's just soaking them all up. And
It
what
is,
can be better than that?
And when it's warm and hot like that, it's still in those nanoparticles. So that's what, that ormus that we're talking about. Ormus is produced naturally in nature. And so that's why I don't know, I can't even talk because it has the lithium in it, and you feel kind of out of this world a little bit. So treat yourself in whatever way you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's get this off the screen so we don't sit on it too much longer.
Sure.
The cleanse will be very physical. Lots of heat in our bodies to accelerate the cells to vibrate at a higher rate to prepare bodies to transition. For some, this will be very uncomfortable. Symptoms can include internal heat, burning, head pressure, vomiting, diarrhea, cramping, high blood pressure, and migraines. I think everyone's relating to a bit of those in the chat. There will be many deaths, but not death because there is no such, in my mind, there's no such thing as death. It's transition.
No, there is none.
Right? So let's just be really clear about that. And that we have this whole baby boomer generation that has been honestly, we were talking about the other night, they've been poisoned for years. They've been taking the shots. They've been following the doctor's orders. You know, fats are bad, right? They've been starving their brains without realizing it. And so it's theirs. A lot of them are going to leave because they can't handle these new frequencies. So we've all adjusted and can adjust, and some people can adjust, but many can't. And so it is actually their free will, and it's their setup time that they've left to check out. And so we can blame it on other things as much as we want. But what's really important to remember is that they're going somewhere wonderful, and they're probably exiting so they can come back in, because now the game's going to be much, much different. And how exciting is that? They want a new avatar. I really don't blame them. Absolutely. And so this will be the first big wave of people leaving by a heart attack, stroke, and aneurysm. It won't be reported publicly. You'll hear it through word of mouth and personal contacts. And yeah, that's actually been happening for sure. So anybody
well,
else?
This is just, I mean, as
Yep.
it says, I got that message in 2018.
Yeah.
And so it's just another or a different way of looking at the narrative we've been living under since 2020.
100%. Yeah, and it has been happening. I've been witnessing it. Like most people I know, parents are now deciding to go that are older. Yeah, this is what's happening. So, Melzie, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you
question?
know, like when we talk about timelines or like programming, you know, people have, you know, are raised like the baby boomers. We've all had different programming because we lived in this world that we've been like MK Ultra, right? Or we went to school at a certain place, or had a religion that we believed in. And so those are the things that we're kind of breaking free from, you know? And some people are unable to do that. They are okay with where they're at, and they don't want to make that ascension. And so in order to stay in that timeline, like we talked about before, there's two timelines splitting off, you know, and one is where it's kind of more the 5D, and one is more, you know, what we call the 5D, and one is more the 3D, right? So in either one, all of them, it's okay, because we all came here for this time. And yep.
And we all have different purposes.
Right. Yeah.
And we're all at, you know, we're all equals. We're all souls having this human experience, and we've all chose when we're going to be more activated and when more things are going to come in for us. So yeah, it's all relative. Norma?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, that's basically the basis of this game of life, is understanding the difference between the microcosm and the microcosm, and knowing that as we tap more into that microcosm part of ourselves, which is just our higher selves, the more we can level up through all these levels that are before us, and the more tapped in you become in understanding that this is a game. And when you gather all the information and the knowledge and the understanding of how this was set up, this construct that we set up, it's beautiful. It's very intricate in its design. And once you put in, you know, the effort to understand what you're in, and you use, because they've been giving us the answers this whole time. The only thing was we didn't know, because they weren't guiding us in a way, because they were not giving us full disclosure. So people have been telling us this whole time. The playbook's been before us. So let's take example, movies. They were giving you the playbook the whole time. It just depends on your perspective and how you look at it. So you got to have the will to want to know thyself is very vitally important. And as you do that, the more you become in tune with your natural state in which you were born in that state, the more you come into that higher perspective of the being that you are. Because I'm telling you, people, you are so much more than your being. So much more.
So much more than you realize you are. Yeah, absolutely. There was a post I did earlier about from the Alchemist about how you think you're this, but really you're this, and you're multidimensional. So it's hard to wrap your head around that, but that's what we're coming into, and that's what our bodies are preparing for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Melzie, did you want to add?
Yeah, I think that's, I love that, you know, we think we're so small sometimes, or ineffective or unimportant. And every single person, you like you said, our energy level and what we affect is out here, right? And I think that's what we're learning about in these times, is how to learn our intuition, like we talked about, how to enter into that plasmic field, how to receive and process the plasmic light that we're experiencing. And I think one of the ways that has helped me the most is actually talking to other people, like having a group of people that I can share with, and you know, that know what we're going through, right? And don't think you're crazy. And so it's a great time to be alive. I love your work, Lisa, and talking about like this holographic universe and experience that we're having, and how the density and how that might have looked with physics, right? So did we, in that fall, where we had a higher plasmic state at one time, without form, without body, you know? And we
Well,
then
I think
come
that.
into density?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, but I mean,
I'm going to turn the birds off.
through religion and, you know, the New Age movement and all these other things, we've been led to believe that we are either the children or the new souls, the babies who are here to learn. We are less than all of that. But I think the truth is the complete opposite. As we've been working our way through these realms, we've been refining. It's like distilling a substance so you get the purest essential oil out of it at the end, right?
Yes.
So we have been condensing and refining and purifying as we've worked our way through these realms. This is where we are now, like level 12 or level 1, whichever way you want to look at it, is the culmination point of the game. It's what we've actually been working towards. So I look at the galactics as, or for example, or anything else that's actually in this realm, if they're not in here, density 3D, they actually haven't gone through the process we have. So they're not as refined, they're not as distilled. This is the culmination point. This is what we've been working for. And we are bringing more of ourselves, we are collecting more of ourselves that's within the construct that's been through these 12 realms. We're collecting, because we've been having multiple experiences simultaneously in different, even in this space. So we're pulling all of that together. And on top of that, more of the bigger part of us that's outside the game is coming in. And all of this is just sort of in order to power us up in my kind of longer term narrative, so that we are powering up in order to be the Flash, in order to be the event. We are it. And so when we talk about the people that are leaving now, and have been for the last few years, it's simply because at a soul level, soul choice, they have maybe gone through this distilling process as far as they want to. They don't want to be here on the ground when that final event happens. They are choosing to go home and have a different perspective or experience of the closeout of this game. Some want to be here on the ground and go through it. Not everybody does. In fact, I think it's a minority that do. And some are leaving, like you talked about with some of the older people who have been, bodies just aren't coping. Some of them are actually leaving or have left and coming straight back in brand new bodies, so that they are here on the ground at the time. And it doesn't matter whether you're 6 weeks old or 60 years old. But most, I think, are just they bought a ticket for row B, seat 23 in the arena to watch the show when it goes. And that's it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Norma, go ahead. You're sitting there spinning in your seat.
Oh, I am, because everything she's speaking to is everything that I see. It's
Oh,
it's all
really?
about-
That's so cool.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everything that I've been being given. And in this, it's like, it's so exciting because, like, I had some, there was a comment on Tanya's Telegram about, somebody, a mother was talking about her son, obviously just automatically having a nosebleed, and he's never had one before. So I commented to that. And the way that I commented was, during that period of 2016 to 2020, any and all new births came in with no contracts whatsoever, whether it was new souls or if it was returning souls. And it all depended on what timeline that they were brought in as to what effects they would go through as we transcend these levels. So if you have children that were born within, around 2020, give or take a few years, depending on where they were born in, determines on if they're a new soul or if they were returning souls with no contracts that are beginning to go through this process and period right now where they're having signs and symptoms, but it's a clearing of signs and symptoms of the old karmic debt that they are relinquishing, which was an easement on these souls. So that way they can just head on through. By the time we have this experience of the flash, they're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Melzie?
Yeah, I have a friend that talked about the flash. She had a brain aneurysm, and I think I've talked about her before, Marsha McCoy. And so she, we talked about this, years ago, and she said that when the flash happens, that there would be some souls that would not make it. And I said, well, what will happen to them? And she's like, it's like they'll just they'll just be gone. And it's not that they're gone, but they didn't choose to continue on, and so they go to another place. And I didn't, I had peace with it. Like at that time, it seems a lot more real now that we're here 5, 6, or whatever years later, right? And we see people making that choice, like through their choice to get the jab, I think was a decision point for them. There were those that would never take it, like I just won't take something like that. But there were others that were lining up like sheep, and they didn't question. And those, I think, were the ones that are that first wave of entering out. And for whatever reason, it's okay. I don't try to understand it. They're at a different place. It's not good or bad. It's yeah.
It just is.
It just is, right? And
Yeah.
we have changed too. I think all of us in this process are releasing things that are old and we say don't serve us anymore, right? And what does that mean? Like, are there old beliefs that we've had that we have to look at and say, is there truth there? Because really, at the end of the day, that's what we want, is truth. And sometimes truth is veiled for our protection, I think, so that we can cope with certain parts of it at different times. And then we're able to see past that veiling, see past that mirror, right?
Yeah,
So
100%.
I think the whole what happens at the solar flash event, Lisa, you said one of the things that Marsha said was that it's like a 100th monkey effect, that it'll hit our quantum consciousness and it'll be like a burst. And so what you just said fits with what Marsha said she saw, was that our consciousness is part of the solar flash event, right?
Yep. We
Yes.
we
So
are the reflection.
we are the solar flash event. When our minds and all of us in our heart coherence hit that point, that's when we have, I think, that flash, that 0 point, that, game over that you were talking about, or reset, or whatever that episode is, receiving our new plasmic bodies. But it's an interesting realization that we are literally the flash event.
Well, I don't know how many of your audience know that I've been in communication with beings from outside the construct since 2016. But they actually said that very thing. They used those words, "You are the flash." And if anyone wants to hear them say that, they can probably find it on my website.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's
Changed
also
everything.
there's also something, Lisa, that we were sharing, and just so people understand too, like when the construct was taken over, I just want to backtrack to that because there's a really good point in this. When the construct was sort of taken over and inverted, we're all connected. So this is the realm of free will. And this is the first time free will was set up this way, as we discussed on the last show. And they decided how far they could take it, right? So that pendulum swung, and now it's coming back the other way. And it's kind of hard to stop it. It's not going to stop in the middle now. It's going to swing the other way, which is to the good and to the light, so to speak. So as crazy as things might seem out there, as hard as this may be for you right now, keep holding on to what you want as a vision and what you'd like the outcome to be, because it will be your grounder, your guiding stone, right? Like no matter what happens, like, I don't know, somebody keeps talking about this, something about the moon, the new moon's in Virgo and the moon's in Virgo, and then there's a retrograde going on at the same time. I'm like, oh yeah, well, we'll be fine.
Every astrologer seems to be having their wet dream moment at the for September, because they're all losing it. Like, oh my God, September. So
yeah. And now I'm just laughing. I'm like, yeah, a Schumann resonance again. I'm like, yeah. So, right, just stay your course and do what you need to do for you, and ask your body what it needs. Ask what you need to get through this.
And I think too, when we realize that we are like, so think of like a movie, and think about how in the movie, like there may be a character that is playing a certain role or learning a certain thing or going through a certain experience. That's kind of what we're doing in these avatar bodies. And when we realize that that we live in a holographic universe that is created by our mind and our heart, then we can actually change the surroundings and the avatar, the experience, right? It's kind of like our, joystick or whatever. I don't even know how they play video games now, but
well, just as everything's been inverted, like we're told that these eyes see what's out there. But if you flip that and go, no, the eyes are projecting what your program is telling you, what your database has come up with, and you're projecting that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And where if enough people have got the same program, then there it is.
So that's why I think it's so important for us to dream of a new future together, right? To envision something, to put like a meditation to heart coherence that we talked about, envisioning the humanitarian projects that we might want to see, or how do we want to see our future? Because when the evil and all this is done, we're going to have that, right?
Absolutely. And we have a clean slate to work on that now. And the more you focus on what you do want, the rest of the stuff kind of falls away. Oh, we've got a good one.
Lisa, however long it is, like think maybe, if you're going through a struggle and you're like, I just having a hard time. Think of yourself as kind of like an undercover white hat, and you're in this avatar body, and you get to have this experience. And so, like if you were Wonder Woman, maybe you would work at a certain place and wear glasses and have all these, secret abilities. That's us, guys. We're really that. That's how I look at it. And so then it makes it okay for me to like go through some of the experiences that I get to have in my 3D world that I go, you know, I have a mission and this is my purpose, and I may not understand it, but this is where I'm supposed to be, you know. And then it changes to that, oh, I can't wait till we have that event. I don't know what that event is. I think we're in the event. I think it's happening. And so when I release that, then I can enjoy the now. And I don't have that, you know.
Well, I know that I have an opposite view to a lot of people, but I don't feel or see that this place that we're in is changing long term. What I see is we're moving out of it into something better, right? And we talk about all the energies that are incoming and stuff that's coming at us. I actually think we're moving towards it as opposed to we're stationary and it's coming to us. What I have felt for a while, and I think the words I used were, we get to leave here on a high note. So as we've hit this final layer, things are starting to become right side up. You know, the inversion is being corrected, and we get to start to have the organic original experience we came into the original game to have, and get as close to that as possible, so that we're leaving with as little as the trauma, as little, you know, we're cleaning ourselves up as much as possible before we reconnect with the organic. I mean, this is the simplest way I can put all of this stuff. I know it's a lot more complex than all that, but just having that really simple visual and these very simple concepts is the easiest way for me to try and explain it. But yeah, I do feel we get to live on a high note. So now is the time, absolutely, as things are getting clearer and clearer and cleaner, and more is becoming available to us, more is being corrected, that we can quite consciously start to create what we want and manifest. There's so many themes that have just opened up in this last week for me personally. One is relationships, partnerships, because I do believe we came into the original game in pairs. And I experienced what I would call a rendering, you know, with the pairs got torn apart. So there's something about, there's going to be a lot of breakups. There's going to be we're going to go through another wave of breakups, because there was a lot of breakups in 2009 when people woke up, and then in 2012 and 13 when, you know, I think we're going to go through another wave of that as distorted relationships, or, you know, whatever need to be dealt with, and the true pairs start to come back together. That seems to be kicking in. The other one, what was the other one? Oh, people talk about a sky event.
Yes. And,
you know, the dome's coming down. The sky is falling. Right, the dome's coming down. The firmament's going to whatever. Whatever that sort of looks like for some people. I mean, some people do think the firmament goes. Some people think it's ET showing up all over the place. Some people think it's auroras. I mean, whatever their idea of the sky event is, that's starting to poke its head up too. All this week, we got galactics, the dome, or whatever, the sky event, and relationships.
Everything everywhere all at once.
Everything everywhere all at once. Yeah. It's been a big week. It's been a huge week.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the energy. So we have a few questions. I just want to run through those, but you're absolutely right, Lisa. We'll see. Melzie, did you want to say something first?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment because you said that you kept saying the high note, and we end on a high note. And Walter Russell's work is called the sympathetic vibratory universe. And he talks about it being like in chords, you know, so that so in dimensions, right? If you hit, let's say, a piano, there other chords, other strings resonate with that. And so when we hit a chord in one dimension, those chords in the other dimensions resonate with that chord. And so I like hearing that we're going to be hitting that high note, because I feel that, you know, that's kind of what's happening when we say that we're resonating or high vibing. And, you know, we're going to end on that higher note, right? And that higher note is love, gratitude, appreciation, right? Those things that come from our heart. So
hard to sort of even consider sometimes when we're having a really shitty experience here.
Yeah.
But to get to a point where we will be actually grateful and even proud potentially that we participated in this.
Oh yeah.
When it's all over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate win.
Yeah.
Yeah. To gone through this experience and come out the other side with gratitude and presence and love and serving from the heart. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's get some questions. There was one up above. Does our blood type connect to, I was mentioning about the giants. So Norma and I had a conversation that we were all giants at one point. We were much bigger than we are now as a species, so to speak. And Just a Mouse is asking, does our blood type connect to those giants? So are different blood types, different tribes, maybe would be another way to put the question. Any thoughts on that?
No, not really.
Okay.
And I've never looked at it. It's never, you know, it's not
That's okay.
been something that I've connected to. But yeah, we have been different sizes because every realm has been bigger than the one before it, you know.
I think we could do a show on that some other time, because I have a study with Lawrence Gardner that I did, because I looked at DNA, and I think that would be a great show to do and talk about
Perfect.
Reincarnation into DNA lines.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Well, I do think we reincarnate in the same line.
I do too.
Sure.
I do too. And I kind of, you know, I looked at does our DNA stay with like our soul body, right? Or do we try and seek after that DNA lineage, that DNA kind of thumbprint? Because we're soul beings, right? And we're not made of our DNA.
Norma?
But we may have missions that we need to accomplish through a DNA bloodline.
What I get is the soul is the essence that has the blueprint, and the DNA is the blueprint. So it has to stay with that soul because it's a specific blueprint. Nobody has the same blueprint, and that's how I perceive it. That for every time we even came back into this construct, before any and all this began to change and alter, and the construct being restructured and stuff like that, we still carry that same blueprint with us because we're just as unique as every snowflake, as every star, as every piece of sand upon this earth. We are all unique in our own way, and that is our soul's blueprint is the DNA that we carry.
Which also correlates to the vibration that we have.
Right. And that has to do with the sacred geometry and how the body creates the mandalas and the sacredness of that soul's specific blueprint. It's all about the heart and that sacred geometry. When you get into that heart space, and it's a heart-mind connection, and you connect more and more with your higher self, then what happens is the heart begins to vibrate at a higher frequency because it's a vortex of itself. It was created from sacred geometry before it became matter. Everything was antimatter before it became matter, and sacred geometry is what works both, so that way the two can correspond with each other and continue to move in motion to continue to create, even all the way down to the lowest, densest matterment you could think as a solid. As a solid. And that's what these levels are about, is their densities and their levels. And given where your heart is in vibration, gives the sacred geometrical shapes that heart creates for that particular blueprint of the DNA that the soul carries.
Boom. I nailed it. Yep, absolutely. No, well said. From Norma, for somebody who hasn't been speaking for long. Yeah,
Repression
well
does have its positives, because when you gain as much knowledge as I have through the years, because you had nothing else better to do, because you were walking this by yourself until you come across your soul family, it sits. And guess what? Whenever you get to that point where you get back to that heart connection,
yeah,
it becomes clear. And that's what this is all about. This is the game. Even whenever we was going through all this lower density and we were being manipulated and stuff, be grateful for it, because once you tap into every bit of it, you're in for a treat. You're in for the greatest treat ever, and you will be so grateful that you were here. You will be so grateful that you chose to be right here in these chaotic and tumultuous moments, because they're nothing compared to what you're going to realize and recognize about yourself.
beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. All right, next question. Dun, dun, dun. Will we remember anything or anyone? I think we'll remember everything and everyone.
You are everything and
Yep.
everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll pop back onto Facebook in a minute, guys. Yeah, everyone can feel it. Yeah, everyone's feeling that pump up, so to speak, right? And how will true pairs come back together? What if your relationship with someone who won't wake up or won't realize they're more than they are, makes fun of your beliefs or our beliefs? The answer's in the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with that, like questions like that, so we all have people in our lives that aren't at the same resonance that we
Yes.
are, right? And so I would say to love them at where they're at. Just love them at where they're at, and do things that you can celebrate together, that don't create discord. And when they're ready, maybe they will or they won't be ready, but you want to create harmony within your own world. And sometimes, like we just said, there's going to be some people that are going to be separating. And maybe you need to take a look at that, right? And maybe you're okay with the circumstances that you're in. And if you are, just try and make peace at where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard O negative blood was not from Earth. Yeah. Heard O comes
Who
from
cares?
Aquarius. So we're gonna keep you guys on track too. What's relevant? What will affect you now? So that's what, right? Because how does that change your perspective on what's happening in this moment in time? Yeah. So we can tap more into DNA, into blood types. Melzie, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I think that's something we could do a show on, and
Yeah,
a whole show, and
absolutely.
we could talk about bloodlines and all
Yeah.
that, and soul reincarnation, because it's a deep subject. But basically, I think, like, again, going back to that avatar moment, it doesn't matter what your blood type is. It doesn't matter, where you're at, but just our experience of now, and living in trying to find the joy, like when I was sitting here talking and I got distracted, I could see something coming over in my peripheral vision, and I looked over and it's this big frog, and he was looking at me and I'm looking at him, and so it's celebrate. And I wanted to break in and say, "Hey guys, there's this frog looking at me," and right. So it's in those little moments, I think, that we can find of the joy of our now, right? And it's not all about like, oh, I could just get to spend the time at this hot spring and everything's wonderful, because there's times that we can have like wonderful times, and other times when things are more challenging and it's more harder for us to be in grace, right? But realizing this is all an experience, that you chose to have. And what are you learning from these lessons, I think. So then keep it simple, stupid.
Right?
Right? Don't complicate it. Keep it simple, stupid. And if you need change, you can change. What are the changes you need? Because you have a choice in the secular, we like experiences go in cycles. So if there's an energy pattern that you're in and you're like, I don't know why this is always happening to me, what we need to do then is look at the event of what it is that we need to go, I think I've learned this from it. Now, what is the outcome that I desire to have? And that's what we can manifest then from. So that's what I got.
Yeah.
When this
Absolutely.
experience is over, and you can find these stories amongst near-death experience stories. My husband had a direct experience of it because he's a prolific out-of-body experiencer, that there is no judgment on the other when you leave here. There is no punishment. There is like one thing. Did you withhold love? The love you withhold is the pain you feel on the other side. And that's it.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say serve love. What would love do in this situation? Even though my brain's going one way, oh wait, what would love do? Because I want to operate from here, not from here. Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we're going through this reconnection, this strengthening of the connection between the heart and the mind.
Yeah. And it's really beautiful. And definitely like more connection. I was saying the other day, when I'm napadating, I call it napadation. I start with a bit of a meditation and it turns into a nap, but lately it's not. I'm sitting within myself in this space and I can feel my body, but I'm not in my body, so to speak. And it's just this beautiful space where I get shown some things sometimes, or it's usually visuals, which is interesting because I haven't had a ton of visuals. So that's been dropping in for me. Not that I understand some of them, but it's awesome. Yeah. And a lot of the time, and for years now, whenever I meditate, I see my own eye. And now it's getting bigger and closer, which I find fascinating.
Woo!
Yeah, right. I'm like, get in there. Let's go right in there. Let's see what's going on in there.
Welcome to 0 point.
Right, exactly. Andromedan, Palladian, Syrians from higher dimensions and realms. So what are 3D beings in current realm most of humanity is living in called? What are 3D beings in the current realm? Souls having a human experience. That's what I call them.
Humans.
Right? Yeah, humans.
To me, at a soul level, it's all the same. It's just they're different vehicles, different realm experiences. It's just, there's probably a Palladian or an Andromedan aspect of you doing that too.
So
the soul's the same.
So if you think of it's like a frequency, right? So a dimension is kind of like a frequency that's on the radio dial, and so we can tune into certain frequencies, and the lower frequencies are more dense, we say, because of the way that they vibrate. So a higher frequency we're not able to see yet. We can see it through here. We can perceive it. We can have intuition through here too.
Yeah.
And that's the way that we can access those other dimensions. I do believe that we will be able to see them visually when we go through that plasmic burst or that plasmic change. That's a lot what we see. The Q team has been showing us those visual eyes that look like rainbow translucent colors that are coming. That's what I think is going to happen, is that we're going to start seeing, kind of like when you take mushrooms or you take other hallucinogenics, you see the other dimensions, you see everything's alive and everything has these colors to it. So lots of
Are we on a hard stop in
5 minutes, 6 minutes,
1 minute?
Minutes.
Oh, okay.
1 minute.
Yeah,
I was just going to use the analogy of homeopathy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with homeopathy, right?
Yeah, my ex-husband was a homeopath.
Right. So a 200 strength is subtle. It's more in the energetic, emotional realm. A 30, it has been, is denser. right? Works
So
directly with
physical.
the physical body more so.
Mhm.
So I sort of see it that way too.
Yep.
And to me, they're not necessarily higher realms, because we use that word higher and we think they're better than,
Right.
they're above. It's just it's actually the realm outside of this one. You know, like this is the more dense, condensed, refined. And what we will be able to do, what we should be able to do, is have brought all of those skills, all of those abilities, all of that through into this body. And this body should be able to do all the things that those other ones can. But it's been a little bit messed with. But that is starting to open up to us too and come online. I mean, who's had telepathy kick in? Who's had,
all of us?
you know, cognitive? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we teleporting
absolutely.
soon. Let's hope.
Woohoo! We're done with this Zoom stuff and this StreamYard. We're going to teleportation. Won't that be cool?
Right?
You know, I'll be like, come on, guys, let's go check out this frog I just saw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we will get to see those that passed. Absolutely. All souls will be connected in a new way. So, yeah. And, you know, animals too. So you guys are aware of some of that. But yeah, just keep holding love and keep accepting that everything is happening for the greater good. No matter what I'm going through, this is for my highest good. And what do I need to look at differently to shift my perspective if I don't like something? Right? How can I shift my energy, shift my perspective so that that shifts as well? Absolutely.
Everything's happening for us, not to us.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you know what you just said, everything's happening for us, not to us. That's a victor mentality and not a victim mentality.
Yes, please.
Mhm. I like that.
It
Yeah.
hasn't always been that way, I don't think, but it is.
No, I think that we all go through different times of, you know, we have different epiphanies.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
Mhm.
Question is density gravity?
No.
Yeah.
No such thing.
No such thing as gravity.
Right? Did anyone do
doesn't
gematria on
exist.
gravity yet?
It doesn't exist.
You know, it'd be
Yeah.
fun to have
Look
a
up
team
the
mind
word
talk about it.
levity. The original thing for, I mean, gravity has this idea that it's pulling and pulling down, whereas there's actually an opposite force called levity. We think levity just means high humor or something, you know, good vibes. But levity was the force from the outside pushing down. And they actually did their best to eliminate it from all the science back in, I think it was was it the 1800s? I don't know, but it used to be levity. Now it's gravity.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
And-
concept, isn't it? And it goes with your work too. So, like, how does
Yeah,
gravity
inverted.
density, that pulling, right?
Absolutely.
But if you think about that toroidal field, and we live in a toroidal universe, right? We would be having kind of that experience at some point of that collapsing coming in
That's when we
Absolutely.
feel so
into creation source energy.
small.
Then boom! That's our
Flashpoint.
Absolutely. And Shazam's asking, are we going to find out gravity is different and should be more lighter feeling in our bodies? Well, if there's no such thing as gravity, then you don't need to worry about gravity, but you will feel lighter in your body. You should feel lighter every day. Yeah. Not down, but up. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think a lot of the science that we all have just assumed is true is going to be questioned really hard.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
In the future, near future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Parting words to keep people's spirits up today. Melzie?
well, I didn't know I was gonna go first. Just be well, everyone. You know, have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for coming and coming and staying with us for this hour and this topic that we have going on. see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Norma?
Same thing I say every week. Keep having fun. Have fun with this. Want to know thyself. Once you know thyself, man, I'm telling you, the empowerment you give yourself is phenomenal, and you will have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And check out the gematria on gravity, Lionsgate Dimension, World Peace.
Nice.
Right? I knew we had that gematria on that. Lisa, thanks so much for coming on again. Parting words for everyone.
Oh, well, nothing I haven't said already, I think. Like, just try and keep in mind that everything's happening for you, not to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be mindful of being and staying in your heart. That's it. I mean, and keep an eye on the synchronicities, because everyone's on their own individual little path right now. It's getting more and more personal all the time. So, and we are getting signs constantly if we take notice. And I don't know, it's like a create your own adventure game right now.
Yes.
And so play. You know?
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. What brings you joy? And so Lisa can be found on YouTube as well as lisamharrison.com. And I put those in both the chats. Those have been in there for you guys. It's also in the notes under the show. And then we're all on the FCB Network channel. You can find us through there and our link trees there. And yeah, I just want to remind everyone, thank you for tuning in. We were at like 600 and something today, which is amazing. So we appreciate you so much and all your kind words raving us on. And we're so grateful that you show up, because we know this is not the normal conversation everyone's talking about. And we just so appreciate that you're willing to look at life in a little bit different way. So my parting words are, I honor you, I love you, and keep doing you. Absolutely. And we'll see you next week, and we look forward to it. And until then, do you, because nobody else can